You might think she's into you, smiling, texting back, flirting, but out of nowhere, then she pulls away. Cold, distant. You start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Was it something I said? Is she losing interest? But here's the crazy part. She still likes you. Yeah, confusing, right? There's a hidden reason why this happens, and it's got almost nothing to do with you, and everything to do with how her mind works. And if you don't understand this, you'll keep chasing, overthinking, and messing up your chances. So let's break it down. Never trust the signals you think you're getting from a woman. It sounds harsh, but it's the truth. You might be getting all the signs you've been taught to look for: the smiles, the long eye contact, the quick replies to your messages, the subtle touches. Everything might feel like it's clicking, like she's just as into you as you are into her. But then, out of nowhere, it's like she disappears. She gets distant, stops texting back, cancels plans, and it leaves you sitting there, wondering what in the world just happened. The weird part is, deep down, you can tell she still likes you. You can feel it. It wasn't just your imagination, but suddenly she's pulling away, and you can't figure out why. This is one of those situations that almost every guy runs into at some point, and it's one of the most confusing things about dating, because everything seems to be going well, and then the brakes slam on. It's frustrating, it's confusing, and it makes you question yourself. You start replaying conversations in your head, checking your texts to see if you said something wrong or wondering if you did something to scare her off. And in most cases, none of those things are the real issue. What's actually happening is rooted deep in how female psychology works, especially when it comes to attraction and emotions. See, a woman's attraction isn't steady. It moves in waves. It rises and falls. It speeds up, then slows down. And a big mistake guys make is assuming that just because everything's good now, it means it's going to stay that way. But emotions don't work like that, especially for women. They're reactive, driven by both logic and feelings. But feelings usually win. When she's with you and things are fun and exciting, those feelings are up. When she's alone, overthinking, or suddenly scared of where this might go, those feelings drop. This doesn't mean she's playing games. It doesn't mean she's not serious. It means she's human. And sometimes the feelings of connection she has with you can feel so strong, so sudden, that it makes her instinctively pull back. Not because she wants to leave, but because she needs a second to catch her breath, to figure out what this really means, and to make sure she's not moving too fast. Imagine for a second that she's walking a narrow bridge. On one side is the excitement she feels with you, the spark, the fun, the butterflies. On the other side is her fears: fear of getting hurt, fear of moving too fast, fear of losing herself in something she can't control. Every step she takes closer to you, she's also looking down at how far she could fall. And sometimes, when that excitement feels too intense, or when she feels herself getting a little too comfortable, her survival instinct kicks in, and she takes a step back. This isn't about you messing up. It's not a punishment. It's about her managing her own emotions, even if she doesn't fully understand it herself. The problem is, most guys react badly in this moment. And honestly, it's not their fault. We're not really taught how to deal with this stuff. When a woman pulls away, guys usually do one of two things. Either they start chasing harder, texting more, trying to fix it by asking what's wrong or reminding her how great things were going, or they get cold and distant too, playing the I'll show her game, hoping she'll realize what she's missing and come running back. Both of these reactions usually backfire. Chasing makes you look insecure and needy, confirming her fears that you might not be as emotionally grounded as she thought. Getting cold makes you seem disinterested or emotionally unavailable, which only adds to her confusion and makes her feel justified in pulling away. What works instead is counterintuitive. You do less, not more. You give her space without making a big deal about it. You keep your energy calm, steady, and focused on your own life. Because the truth is, this moment is a test. Not necessarily one she's doing on purpose, but it's a test of emotional strength. She wants to feel like if she steps back a little, you won't fall apart. That if she pulls away for a second, your whole mood won't shift. She wants to know that you're stable, that you have a life, that your happiness isn't entirely wrapped up in whether she texts you back within 5 minutes. And when you pass that test, something powerful happens. Her fear softens, her excitement returns, and she moves closer to you, this time with more confidence. A good example of this is a story I heard from a guy named Ryan. He met this girl at a friend's party, and they instantly hit it off. They exchanged numbers, started talking all the time, went on a few dates, and everything was going great. The connection was there, the chemistry was obvious, and it felt effortless. Then, after about a month, she started acting weird. Shorter texts, less enthusiasm, canceling plans. Ryan panicked. He started texting her more, asking if everything was okay, trying to recreate those earlier fun conversations. And you can guess what happened. She pulled away even more. Ryan got frustrated, overthought everything, and it all fell apart. Now here's where it gets interesting. A few months later, Ryan ran into her again at another get-together. This time, he was different. He wasn't chasing, wasn't trying to impress her, wasn't overly eager. He was just doing his thing, having fun, talking to other people. And guess who started gravitating toward him again? She did. She admitted later that the connection they had scared her because it felt too good too fast, and she pulled back because she didn't know if she could handle how she was feeling. But seeing him act calm, collected, and unbothered made her realize he wasn't emotionally dependent on her. That made her feel safe to reconnect. What a lot of guys don't realize is that women experience a kind of emotional momentum when they like you. When things are new and exciting, that momentum builds fast. But if it feels like it's building too fast, or if she senses that your excitement is higher than hers, she might feel like she's losing control. And people in general don't like feeling out of control. So, to slow things down, she might back off, hoping to catch her balance. If you try to speed things up during this moment by chasing her, you're moving in the opposite direction of where she wants to go emotionally. That's where problems start. And here's the deeper reason this happens. It has to do with how women emotionally invest. Unlike men, who often decide early on whether they're interested and then consistently pursue, women's emotional attachment tends to grow over time, and it often involves periods of uncertainty. Even if she likes you a lot, she still needs to feel like she's choosing to be with you, not like she's getting swept up in something she can't control. When you chase, it feels like pressure. When you pull back too coldly, it feels like rejection. But when you stay calm and steady, continuing to live your life while leaving the door open for her, it creates a healthy space for her to work through those feelings on her own. A mistake people make is believing attraction alone is enough to carry a connection. But what actually holds it together is emotional security, the sense that she can be drawn to you without it turning into something overwhelming or unbalanced. If she senses that you'll start losing yourself if she's not constantly reassuring you, it creates tension. And ironically, this is when women start convincing themselves they're not ready, or they need to figure things out. Not because the connection isn't real, but because it feels emotionally risky. The funny part is, if she didn't care, she wouldn't pull away. The fact that she's pulling away often means she likes you so much it scares her. The problem isn't the attraction, it's what comes attached to it. Another thing that's important to understand is how women test for stability without even realizing it. It's not some evil plan or manipulative move. It's instinct. When she pulls away, it's often her way of checking, is this guy steady, or is he going to freak out the moment I'm not 100% available? Because here's the reality. Life isn't always going to be butterflies and constant attention. If a relationship's going to last, it needs to survive moments of uncertainty, moments when one person gets a little distant, a little distracted, or a little unsure. And a woman is very tuned in to how a man responds to those moments. If you crumble, it tells her this connection might not be built on something solid. And believe me, She notices the small things. She notices when you double text after she hasn't replied. She notices when you start liking all her old pictures or dropping comments trying to get her attention again. She notices the change in your energy, how your mood seems to shift, depending on how available she's being. What you need to realize is that attraction isn't built in those perfect, smooth moments where everything's easy. It's built in those little tests, those subtle challenges, those pauses where your response says everything about your emotional control and confidence. You don't need to ignore her. You don't need to play games. You just need to hold your ground. It's funny because guys are always told to be confident, but nobody explains what that actually looks like when a girl you like suddenly pulls away. Confidence isn't some loud alpha male act or pretending you don't care. Real confidence is quiet. It's being able to stay balanced even when the situation feels a little shaky. It's trusting that you don't need to chase what's meant for you. It's understanding that if she needs space, it's not a reflection of your worth. And when you show up like that, calm, unbothered, focused on your own life, it actually draws her back in faster than any amount of chasing or convincing ever could. Think about it. When someone pulls away and you stay composed, it signals strength. It tells them you're not desperate, that your happiness isn't dependent on their immediate attention. And as strange as it sounds, that makes you more attractive. It flips the script. Now she's the one wondering what you're up to, why you're not blowing up her phone, why you seem so unaffected. And this creates curiosity. Curiosity is powerful in relationships because it pulls people back in without pressure. People are drawn to what feels stable, intriguing, and slightly out of reach. When you master this balance, you stop losing people when they pull away. Instead, they naturally come back because you've created a space where they can return without tension. A great way to picture this is to imagine yourself like a campfire. When people get close, they feel warmth, comfort, energy. But if someone steps back from the fire doesn't chase them. It keeps burning. It stays lit. It continues to provide warmth to whoever's near, without shrinking or flickering because someone walked away. And that's what you want to be. Steady, attractive, secure in your own space. If she comes back, great. If not, you're still glowing, still good. And that, ironically, is what often makes people realize what they're missing. I had a friend, Mark, who went through this exact thing. He started dating this woman he'd known through work for a while. Things got intense quickly. They spent a lot of time together, messaging constantly, making plans, staying up late on the phone, and for a while it felt perfect. But then she started getting distant, slower replies, vague excuses. Mark felt it and started panicking. He reached out more, asked if she was okay, told her he missed her, tried to win her back with sweet messages. And the more he chased, the colder she became. Eventually, she told him she needed space, and Mark was devastated. But here's the lesson. After a week or two of feeling terrible, Mark finally stopped. He refocused on his own life, started working out again, went out with friends, and basically reminded himself that his world didn't revolve around one person. And guess who texted him out of nowhere 2 weeks later? She did. She told him she'd been thinking about him, that she missed how things felt, and that she wanted to see him again. What changed wasn't her attraction. It was his energy. Once he stopped acting like he needed her attention to be okay, it gave her the emotional safety to come back on her own terms. The lesson here is huge because it shows that attraction isn't just about connection. It's about the space between connection. It's about how you handle distance, uncertainty, and those moments when things don't go perfectly. When you stay cool, it signals you have options, confidence, and emotional independence. And if a woman is truly interested, this will almost always pull her back in. Not because you tricked her or played some game, but because you created the emotional safety she needed to deal with her own fears and feelings. What makes this even more interesting is how attraction works on an unconscious level. When a woman feels drawn to you, it's not just because of what you say or how you look. It's how you make her feel. If she feels safe, curious, challenged, and excited around you, she'll stick around. If she feels pressure, tension, or emotional chaos, she'll instinctively pull back to protect herself. And this is why your reaction when she creates distance is so critical. It either reassures her that you're a safe person to grow closer to, or it confirms her fears that the connection is moving too fast, too unstable. I've seen this pattern play out in countless situations. It's always the same sequence. Connection builds fast. Feelings get intense. She starts getting in her own head about what it means, if she's ready, if she should slow down. She creates space. The guy either panics and over pursues or stays cool. The reaction determines everything. If he panics, it ends. If he stays calm, it almost always comes back around. Because as much as people talk about wanting instant, overwhelming passion, what most of us really crave is a steady, dependable connection that still feels exciting. And excitement isn't created by chasing, it's created by space, curiosity, and emotional control. What makes this difficult is the way we're wired to react emotionally. When someone pulls away, it naturally makes us want to chase. It triggers that anxious part of our brain that hates uncertainty. But understanding what's really happening can help you override that impulse. You don't need to overthink it, dissect every text, or guess what she's thinking. What you need is to control the one thing you actually have power over, yourself. Stay calm. Keep living your life. Let her come back when she's ready. And if she doesn't, trust that someone else will. Because chasing people who are pulling away rarely brings them back. What brings them back is your ability to keep your fire burning no matter who's standing close to it. Now let's get even deeper into this. Because it's not just about space and calm energy. It's also about timing. See, when a woman pulls away, it often happens at a very specific point in the emotional connection. It usually shows up right after things start getting good. Maybe you've just had a great date, a long, deep conversation, or shared something personal, and everything feels like it's moving forward. That's actually when a lot of people, especially women, subconsciously start checking themselves. They think, wait, am I going too fast? Do I actually trust this person? Is this too intense? It's a protective thing, like an internal brake to keep her from getting ahead of herself. And it's usually not logical, it's emotional. That's why you can't talk someone out of it or convince them to stay when they're in that headspace. Words don't fix feelings. What makes it even trickier is that sometimes women don't even know why they're pulling back. If you ask them, they might say, I just need space, or I'm confused, or I don't know what I want right now. And as a guy, hearing that is insanely frustrating because it makes you feel helpless, like there's nothing you can do. But actually, there's a ton you can do, just not in the way you probably think. It's not about fixing her mood or chasing her back. It's about letting her feel what she needs to feel, while showing, through your actions and energy, that you're steady, unshaken, and emotionally grounded. That's what gives her room to work through whatever she's dealing with, without adding extra pressure. This is why it's so important to have a life outside of her. When a woman pulls away and you have hobbies, passions, goals, friends, and things going on that light you up, it naturally keeps your energy balanced. You're not sitting around waiting for her to text back. You're not obsessing over what went wrong. You're busy. You're focused. You've got stuff going on. And this isn't about pretending to be busy just to seem cool. It's about actually being invested in your own life because, let's be honest, no one wants to be someone's whole world when they haven't built a world of their own. And women are especially tuned into this. They can feel when a guy has nothing going on besides them, and it's not attractive. It feels like pressure, like he's depending on her for his entire sense of worth. That's heavy. Nobody wants that. But when you have your own stuff, your own passions, your own circle, your own priorities, it makes you naturally harder to throw off balance. If she pulls away, your world doesn't collapse. You don't spiral. You don't suddenly lose your confidence. You stay steady because your identity isn't built around her. And that's attractive because it signals maturity, security, and strength. Think about people you admire. They don't need constant attention or reassurance. They're grounded in who they are. That's what makes them magnetic. And it's the same in dating. The steadier you are in yourself, the more attractive you become. Not because you're trying to play some strategy, but because people are drawn to those who don't need them to be okay. And it's not just about handling her pulling away better. It's about preventing it from happening so often in the first place. When you pace the connection better, when you don't rush to see her every day, when you let things build naturally without forcing it, you give both of you space to stay in that exciting, curious phase longer. Too often, people try to fast forward a connection because it feels good, and in doing so, they skip past the part where trust and comfort are built. When things move too quickly, it triggers those internal fears and makes people pull back. So by slowing down and not making everything so intense so fast, you actually create a stronger, safer bond over time. One of the most overlooked things in relationships is the power of subtlety. Not everything has to be declared, labeled, or decided in the first few weeks. Sometimes it's better to just enjoy where things are without constantly needing to define it. When you leave a little mystery, a little uncertainty, not in a manipulative way, but in a natural, relaxed way, it keeps things exciting. It gives both people the freedom to discover how they feel without pressure. And ironically, this makes it less likely for her to pull away because she's not feeling like she's being dragged down a path she's not ready for. She's moving at her own pace, and you're moving at yours. That's what creates balance. There's this guy I know, James, who was really good at this without even realizing it. He never over-pursued, never rushed things, and always kept his life full and interesting. He was naturally charming, but what made him stand out was that he never acted like he needed anyone. If a girl he liked started pulling away, he didn't take it personally. He didn't chase or act weird. He just kept doing his thing, and more often than not, they'd come back around. One girl even told him later that the reason she kept thinking about him when they weren't talking was because he seemed so unaffected by the distance. It made her curious. It made her wonder what he had going on that made him so confident. And that's the energy you want to build. Not fake confidence, not pretending you don't care, but a genuine sense of self-worth and independence. When you have that, people feel it. It changes the way you text, the way you talk, the way you show up. You're not overanalyzing every little thing. You're not trying to manage her emotions or force a certain outcome. You're just being you, letting things unfold naturally, and trusting that what's meant for you will stay. Another thing that people miss is that sometimes, when a woman pulls away, it has nothing to do with you at all. It could be about her work stress, family issues, past relationship baggage, or just something internal she's sorting out. And this is where emotional maturity comes in. Instead of making it all about you, instead of assuming you did something wrong, take a step back and realize that people have entire lives and emotional worlds outside of you. Not everything is a personal attack. Not everything needs to be fixed. Sometimes the best thing you can do is give someone space to work through their stuff without trying to control the situation. This mindset shift is powerful because it takes you out of a reactive state and puts you back in control of your own emotions. You're no longer chasing validation or clarity from someone else. You're standing in your own space, focusing on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your life. And when you do that, you stop coming off as needy or anxious. You come off as strong, grounded, and attractive. And it's usually in this state that people naturally start gravitating back to you. Now, here's where everything comes together, because if you really look at what's happening when a woman pulls away, it's not about chasing or ignoring her. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't get thrown off by it in the first place. It's about building this unshakable presence, where whether she's fully there or taking a step back, you're still good. You're still moving. You're still confident in yourself and what you bring to the table, in your ability to attract and hold the right kind of connection. And when you shift into that mindset, you stop taking every little pullback personally. You stop letting it mess with your head. And ironically, that's when people stick around the most. See, attraction isn't just about attention, it's about energy. It's about how you make someone feel when they're around you and even when they're not. If your energy screams insecurity and desperation the moment she steps back, it pushes people away. But if your energy stays calm, steady, even a little mysterious, it draws them in. They start thinking about you more because now you're not giving them the easy validation they're used to. You're not sitting there waiting. You've got a life, and that life keeps moving whether they're in it or not. That's what makes you valuable. That's what makes you rare. And honestly, most people aren't used to that. Most people are so reactive. The moment someone they like pulls away, they panic, they overthink, they start chasing. So when you hold your ground, you immediately stand out. It might not flip everything instantly, but over time, that's what leaves a lasting impression. That's what makes someone wonder about you when you're not around. And that's what creates the space for real, lasting attraction. Not forced attention, but natural mutual interest that's built on respect, freedom, and curiosity. I remember hearing this quote once. The strongest position in any relationship is being willing to walk away. Not because you don't care, not because you're cold, but because you know your value and you refuse to beg for what should flow naturally. When a woman feels that, it either snaps her attention back to you or it filters her out of your life. Either way, you win. Because what you don't want is to force a connection with someone who isn't fully in. That's exhausting, that's stressful, and it usually ends badly. So instead of chasing or stressing, learn to embrace the distance. Use it as a moment to check yourself, to refocus, to pour more energy into your own life. Hit the gym, work on your projects, go see your people, level up. And when you do that, one of two things happens. Either she circles back because the energy shifted, or you move on so far that when she does, you realize you're no longer even interested. And either outcome is a win, because the real goal here isn't just to get her back. It's to stop being the type of person who falls apart when someone pulls away. And once you reach that point, relationships start feeling different. You're no longer controlled by someone else's availability. You're no longer obsessed with what they're doing or how quickly they text back. You're free. You're in control. And that's when the best connections naturally fall into place, because people can sense when you're emotionally independent. They feel safe around you because they know you're not going to smother them or fall apart if things get complicated. And if she does come back, and in many cases she will, you're in a much better position. You're not coming from a desperate, please don't leave me energy. You're in a position where you can decide if bringing her back into your world makes sense for you. Because let's be honest, sometimes people pull away because they're confused, and other times because they were never really in it for the right reasons to begin with. And the best way to figure out which one it is? Stop chasing. Let the distance reveal the truth. If someone's genuinely interested, they'll find their way back. And if they don't, you've dodged a bullet. There's something powerful about being a person who can let go. Not in a cold, disconnected way, but in a calm, mature way, where you're secure in the idea that what's meant for you will stay. People are drawn to that kind of calm. It's rare. And in a world where everyone's so reactive, it makes you stand out without even trying. That's the version of you that holds attention. That's the version people regret pulling away from. And that's the version you should be aiming to become. Because in the end, this whole dynamic of people pulling away is unavoidable. It's going to happen. Life gets messy. Emotions shift. People get scared. But what you can control is your reaction. You can either crumble, over-pursue, and lose yourself in the chaos. Or you can stay calm, stay steady, and let things play out while you keep living your life. And when you choose the second option, not only do you handle these situations better, but you also become naturally more attractive to everyone around you. So the next time it happens, And it will take a breath. Don't panic. Don't overthink. Don't chase. Let it be. Keep moving forward. Focus on your goals. Keep your circle tight. Stay in your lane. And you'll be surprised how often people who once pulled away slowly start finding reasons to come back around. Not because you begged them, but because you didn't need them. And that right there is one of the most powerful positions you can be in when it comes to dating, relationships, and life in general. Watch the next video.